Today we got why did Napoleon invade Russia? This is from History Minds. Let's jump straight into this one, man.
We all know that Napoleon's invasion of the Russian Empire ended, how shall we say, poorly. But one of the big questions is, what was he hoping to achieve and were these goals realistic? So, a bit of context. When Napoleon had risen to power in the year 8, or 1799 as it's normally known, Europe looked like this. By 1812, on the eve of Napoleon's famed invasion of Russia, it looked like this. Napoleon had managed to defeat the Prussians, Russians and Austrians before this, and after rearranging their territories had demanded that they take part in what's called the Continental System. The Continental System was basically the Don't Trade with Britain club, and this was quite damaging to Russia. As such, in 1810 the Russians simply opted to ignore Napoleon's demand and trade anyway, which the French Emperor did not like one bit. Now, this wasn't the only problem that plagued Franco-Russian relations. The first was ideological. Russia represented everything that the French Emperor despised. It wanted a meritocratic Europe in which certain rights were enshrined and certain values were seen as being simply universal. And Russia did not embody these ideals. The second issue was Poland. In 1807, Napoleon had defeated the Fourth Coalition and as a result took this territory from Prussia and gave it to the brand new Duchy of Warsaw.
Napoleon is such an interesting guy. If you guys have not, you guys watching this video, you probably know a lot about Napoleon, but if you haven't seen the oversimplified series on Napoleon, oh my god, it's so good.
In 1809, Austria tried to defeat Napoleon, and just like everyone else, they failed.
Yep.
And so, as punishment for even trying in the first place, they lost this territory to the new Polish state. So how does this concern Russia? Well, the last independent Polish state was the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and that had been partitioned by Austria, Prussia and Russia. This meant that a large Polish minority lived within Russia, meaning that if there was a conflict between itself and Poland, or its patron France, there would likely be an uprising. Furthermore, the close friendship between the Duchy of Warsaw and France meant that Poland could be used as a launching point for an invasion into Russia. As such, the Russians could not tolerate an independent Poland unless it accepted the Russian Emperor as its king. The Poles and Napoleon said no, and so things got a little bit tense. So, by 1812, the French Empire was deeply bogged down by Spanish and Portuguese resistance in the Peninsular War. This was becoming costly in terms of money and lives, and so, as a result, Napoleon needed a win. And what better way to do so than to have a quick and easy victory by invading Russia? Napoleon knew that he couldn't continue to fight the costly Peninsular War and invade Russia without Prussia and Austria on side. As such, Napoleon pressured them to commit small forces to the invasion, which they agreed to. The idea being that they would make an enemy of Russia and so wouldn't be able to join it against Napoleon. So as we all know, Napoleon's invasion of Russia was a complete failure, and so surely he must have been able to predict some of the issues he faced, right? Well, no. Napoleon was convinced of his own genius and considered the Russians to be an inferior people who would be unable to withstand his armies for very long. As we all know, this invasion went terribly for France and Napoleon's days in power were soon numbered. So in summary, Napoleon invaded Russia for many reasons. To enforce the Continental System, which in theory would starve Britain of money and resources, to destroy Russia as a potential future enemy so that France could focus entirely on the Spanish, Portuguese and the British,
and just because why not, it's Napoleon,
and to strengthen his grip over Eastern and Central Europe as well as the new Polish state to enforce Napoleonic ideals there. However, the most obvious reason he invaded was simple. He thought he was going to win. I hope you enjoyed this.
It's because it's Napoleon, but really good video. Napoleon is such an interesting guy. Enjoyed that one. Hopefully you guys did as well. If you did, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.